I didn't say a single word, while my husband laughed at me in court. Everyone thought I was weak. Even his lawyer smiled when I stayed silent. He told the judge I was unstable, that I didn't deserve anything. And I just stood there, hands folded, saying nothing. What they didn't know was that I had already won. I was just waiting for the right moment. We were married for 12 years. I wasn't loud. I wasn't demanding. I was the kind of woman who made sure everything ran smoothly, the home, the finances, his schedule. And maybe that was my mistake. Because somewhere along the way, he stopped seeing me as a partner. And started treating me like I was invisible. The distance didn't happen overnight. It was small things at first, ignored messages, late nights, dismissive replies. Until one day, I realized he had already checked out of the marriage. I found out about the other woman by accident. A message. Just one careless notification on his phone. He didn't even try to deny it. Instead, he blamed me. Said I was too quiet. Too boring. Not enough. That was the moment I understood something clearly. He didn't just want to leave. He wanted to leave with everything. And that's when the legal battle began. By the time we walked into that courtroom, he looked completely at ease. Confident. Relaxed. Like this was already over. He didn't even look at me at first. Just sat there beside his lawyer, whispering, smiling. Like I wasn't even worth acknowledging. When the hearing began, his lawyer took control immediately. She spoke clearly. Firmly. Every word carefully chosen. She has no financial contribution. She was dependent. She lacks stability. It was strange, hearing your entire life reduced to a few sentences. 12 years, turned into something that sounded like nothing. And then he spoke. My husband. He leaned forward slightly. Looked directly at the judge. And said I was emotionally distant. That I checked out of the marriage years ago. That living with me felt like living with a stranger. There was a moment where a few people in the room shifted in their seats. And then he laughed. Not loudly. Just enough. A small, dismissive laugh, like I was a joke he'd already outgrown. For a second, I felt it. That sting. That urge to speak. To interrupt. To correct everything he was saying. But I didn't. I kept my hands folded in front of me. Still. Quiet. Even when the judge turned to me. And gave me the space to respond. I simply said, I'll speak when it's time. My own lawyer glanced at me, surprised. But I could feel it. That shift. The room didn't understand my silence. And he mistook it for weakness. That was exactly what I needed. What none of them knew was that this didn't start in the courtroom. It started months earlier. Long before the divorce was filed. Long before he realized I knew the truth. I had already seen the patterns. The late nights that didn't add up. The sudden changes in finances. The way he guarded his phone, his emails, everything. At first, I questioned myself. I thought maybe I was overthinking. But something didn't feel right. So instead of confronting him, I started paying attention. Quietly. Carefully. I went through old financial records. Not all at once, just a little each night. Transfers that didn't match his explanations. Accounts I had never seen before. Then came the property documents. A small investment under a different name. At first, it looked harmless. Until I traced it back. Everything connected. Every business expense, every temporary withdrawal. Every late night he couldn't explain. They all led to the same place. He wasn't just leaving the marriage. He was trying to rewrite it. To walk away with more than his share. And make it look like I deserved less. And the more I uncovered, the quieter I became. Because I realized something important. If I reacted too soon, he would fix his mistakes. Hide things better. Cover his tracks. So instead, I let him believe I didn't know anything. I let him think I was still the same quiet woman he had already underestimated. And while he built his case against me, I built the truth. Piece by piece.
Back in the courtroom, everything felt exactly the way he wanted it to. Controlled, predictable, until it wasn't. When the judge asked if there was anything further, there was a brief pause. His lawyer shook her head confidently. They were done. That was it. That was the version of the story they were ready to leave behind. And then, for the first time that day, I moved. It wasn't dramatic. I didn't rush. I simply stepped forward calmly and said, "Yes, Your Honor, I have something to present." The room shifted. It was subtle, but you could feel it. My lawyer straightened in his seat. The judge looked up again. Even my husband finally turned toward me, really looked at me, for the first time. I placed the file in front of the court. No long explanation, no emotional speech. Just documents, carefully organized, clearly labeled. Bank statements, transfer histories, property ownership records, everything he thought I would never see. And as the judge began reviewing them, the silence in the room changed. It wasn't dismissal anymore. It was attention, real attention. A few seconds passed, then a minute, and I watched it happen, that small shift in his expression. The confidence fading, the smile gone. His lawyer leaned closer to him, whispering quickly, flipping through the pages faster now, trying to understand, trying to catch up. But it was too late, because this wasn't something they could explain away in a sentence. This was a pattern, a clear one, and for the first time that day he had nothing to say. The truth didn't come out all at once. It unfolded slowly, carefully, exactly the way I had planned. Every document added weight, every detail filled in the gaps he thought no one would notice. Hidden assets, undisclosed income, property transferred to avoid division, all of it laid out clearly. The same courtroom that once felt tilted in his favor was now completely still. No whispers, no laughter, just quiet understanding. The judge asked a few questions, short, direct, the kind that don't leave room for excuses, and when my husband tried to respond, his voice wasn't the same. It wasn't confident anymore. It wasn't controlled. For the first time, he sounded unsure. And that small sound said more than anything else could. When the decision finally came, it wasn't dramatic. There was no shock, no raised voices, just clarity. The assets were corrected, the truth acknowledged, the narrative restored, fair, balanced, final. And as we walked out of that courtroom, he didn't laugh. He didn't speak. He didn't even look at me. But I wasn't waiting for that anymore, because this was never about proving something to him. It was about knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is let the truth speak for you. Thank you for spending this quiet moment with me. If the story stayed with you, a gentle like or subscribe is always appreciated.